In View 7, whenever you're using any of the indirect lighting models, global illumination, ambient occlusion, and global radiosity, View will now generate a prepass. This prepass is our indirect lighting solution. After the prepass is rendered, View then starts the final pass that will be applied to the render. The speed of this prepass and the overall quality of the indirect lighting is directly linked to the quality boost setting found within the lighting tab. In most cases, when using indirect lighting on procedural terrains, you can normally adjust the setting to a quality boost of -2 and still produce a very high quality render with good looking indirect lighting. With the overall improvements to radiosity within View, the speed of using radiosity has been hugely increased, and using radiosity as a normal lighting mode is now completely possible. Once moving into animation, you may need to increase that quality boost setting to a quality boost of 0, or sometimes even 0.5, to avoid flickering or inconsistencies within the indirect lighting. The indirect lighting solution that is created can also be reused. If we take a look at the bottom of the middle column, we can see the indirect lighting solution and a reuse indirect lighting option. Checking the reuse indirect lighting will apply that prepass to the next renders. This allows you to easily tweak the scene and make adjustments, so you don't need to recalculate that prepass every single time you render. Now, depending on the amount of changes you make in the scene, you will need to update this to get an accurate representation of the scene. At any time when you add a large amount of objects to the scene that would affect your indirect lighting, you will need to update it. Or if you change any very large primary colors within the scene, say adding grass to a rocky terrain, that would produce a reflected indirect light of a green color, you would then need to update that. Located next to the reuse indirect lighting is a update indirect lighting next time. So in other words, the next time you render, it will render a new prepass. The prepass that renders is also a very good indicator of whether or not you even need to have indirect lighting options on. If you don't see anything showing up in the prepass, or it's just completely black, then you don't have any objects in the scene or a lighting situation in which you're even going to see that reflected indirect light, which typically means you can increase your render speed just by turning the option off. Now, if you know you want indirect lighting to show up and you're not seeing the option, primarily with radiosity, what you can do is increase the gain function. So a prepass is also a really good way to see what your indirect lighting is going to look like before rendering the entire scene.